Johnny Murray here, and welcome to a brand new review. Today, we're going to be reviewing Monster Hunter Wilds. This game just released last week, and I've put about like 50 hours into the game. And yeah, I'm super duper excited to talk about this one because I have a lot to say, and I had a lot of different expectations going into this, and I just love Capcom, so I'm just super duper excited to do this review. But yeah. If you guys are new to the channel, thank you for clicking on the video, first of all. But if you guys love video games, doesn't matter what you love, Xbox, Nintendo, PlayStation, third-party, PC, VR, indie, whatever it may be, consider subscribing and sharing with friends. I really do appreciate the support, especially supporting this video right here. But without further ado, let's get into this long overdue Monster Hunter Wilds review. Now, I actually wanted to do this review a few days ago because I finished the game pretty quickly, but I did put in some post-game hours as well. That's kind of why. But then also, I've just been super busy with other things like music and stuff like that. So sorry that I'm just now doing it, and also for the drive videos on the channel. But all that aside, let's get into the review, and we're gonna start with the good. Now, here's the thing with Monster Hunter. I've liked Monster Hunter. Like, I enjoyed my time with World. I didn't beat it, or I didn't put in like hundreds of hours. I think I maybe put in like 10 hours into World. I didn't finish it or anything. And then Rise, I put like maybe 5 hours into, and I was like, yeah, okay, I got it. It's fun, but I was just never into Monster Hunter. For some reason, like, it just never really clicked with me. So, you know, with Monster Hunter Wilds, you know, being the person I am and just wanting to play as many games as possible and trying everything, going in with an open mind, I was excited just for the fact that we're getting another big game here. I know Monster Hunter is huge. It's Capcom's like biggest franchise now in their company, which is just crazy. But I was excited, and I had high expectations because this game is obviously building on World. This is the follow-up to Monster Hunter World, which is the biggest and best Monster Hunter to date. And, you know, I was just excited, and I was kind of going in with an open mind, and I can officially say that this game completely exceeded my expectations because for somebody who I just thought Monster Hunter was okay, it's fun, but that's really it. I absolutely love this game. Like, this game is just absolutely fantastic, an awesome experience. And to me, that was the word that kept on going through my head when, you know, thinking about how do I feel about this game right now, or, you know, will this game end up being one of my favorites of the year, which, you know, only time will tell. We still have a big year ahead of us. But the word that kept going on through my head was, how do I feel about this experience? And I feel like this game captured experience better than any of the other Monster Hunter games, and therefore that is why I love this one way more than the other one. And we're going to talk about that, but let's get started with the good, and we're going to start with the gameplay. That's the thing you go to Monster Hunter for. That is what makes Monster Hunter is its gameplay, its gameplay structure, all that stuff. And I mean, the gameplay is great. The gameplay is great. There are some things in the mixed and bad category that we're going to talk about, but the combat is incredible, first and foremost. It is satisfying. It is super in-depth, super complex. There is loads of variety. I mean, you got the weapons that you get to pick. There's like, I think, 14 different weapons. All of them feel super unique, super cool, fun in their own right. I messed around with like all of them. I had my like mains, right, for like majority of the game, but then post-game, I went to hunt a few monsters with just each of the weapons just to see what it was like. And it's just so cool seeing the difference between the play styles between all the different weapons, and the fact that there are so many weapons is just super duper awesome. And I think that goes to show you that there is replay value to this game, and there is, you know, the fact that you can play with friends, and that it is so diversive in terms of who's gonna play what. How are you gonna play this with other people who are gonna play like that? It just opens up so much variety and richness within the combat system itself. It just adds so much to the gameplay, and it really just makes what Monster Hunter is, mixed with the monsters. The monsters, the big bosses, the enemies in this game are fantastic. I mean, debatably the best in the series from what I've heard, but then also from what I've experienced. There are just so many new monsters and returning monsters that just have really cool movesets, really cool designs, to the point where there are some enemies where you're like, bro, what is going on? But this is so awesome. I mean, we got lava octopuses, and we got so many things going on, and it's just super duper fun and super duper creative what they were able to accomplish with this combat system and with the monsters in this game that are debatably the best the series has ever seen in terms of combat and in terms of monsters. And so when the game is mainly focused around gameplay and you nail those two things, I mean, you're kind of already setting yourself up for success. And by the way, this game has been a major success. It has already sold 8 million copies. I'm not really surprised, to be honest with you. I originally said that it was going to sell 15 million by the end of the year. I think that might honestly get shattered. That might honestly go way past that. So we'll have to see. But yeah, another thing I love about the gameplay is the progression, the weapons, the armor, the things that you can unlock throughout the game. It never once felt like I kind of just flatlined or I just hit a plateau of like, okay, this is just going to be my stuff for the rest of the game. I was always upgrading, always getting new armor, always getting new weapons, looking for more upgrades to fully progress my character. And I just love that about games. I never want to feel like I'm just stuck in a place doing the same thing over and over again, which there are points in this game where you do feel like that, and we're going to talk about that later. But in terms of combat, in terms of progression, in terms of what am I doing, in terms of my build, in terms of the RPG aspect of this game, it always felt like it kept moving forward, and I think that is really, really great. There is a clear direction on how you play this game, and I love that because there are a lot of things in this game that are not clear, that are very confusing. And one of those is not progression. I understand what makes armor better. I understand how to get that better armor. I understand what is a better weapon. I understand all those things. And I think that just goes to show you how great this game is designed, especially when it comes to the RPG aspects, you know, the elemental weaknesses, resistance, stuff like that, the abilities you get with certain armor and weapons. All of it just adds such a rich and in-depth gameplay system that never gets old, really, throughout this 30-hour game, which, by the way, if you want to beat the main story, it takes about 15 hours, but then there is a second main story if you want to do it. It's just more harder, and it's called the high rank campaign, right? That takes about another 15 hours. I did both. But throughout both those campaigns, I just always felt like we were just kept moving in a direction. And I love that. I never want to stay still. I never want to stay stagnant. And that's awesome. And then another thing I think this game did really, really great in terms of gameplay is its movement and its mobility. I don't think it's ever felt more fluid. And when I was listening to a kind of funny review, he gave the game a 9.5. But one of his big words that he used was the game feels frictionless. And I think that's so true. The game really just flows from one thing to another, back and forth, left and right. Like, it just keeps moving and moving. And because of that, you have to have great movement and mobility. The controls, while I do have some critique for the controls. The controls at least feel fluid. They feel like they're doing what they're supposed to. Like when you're moving, when you're jumping, when you're climbing, when you're mounting, all of it just flows super duper nicely in terms of animations, in terms of response. Very, very solid stuff. And one thing that they added to this game that I think was a huge addition, which I think benefited incredibly well, especially for my enjoyment of the game, and I hope they keep in all future installments, is the mount. I think the mount was a perfect addition for this game. Like, I think the mount honestly stands out because there is things that you can do with gameplay and combat with the mount. Like, if you get hit, you can call your mount to just scoop you up and like take you away so you have time to heal or something, or you can jump off and do attacks and get on monsters' backs and stuff like that. The mount just adds so much to it, and I absolutely love that. But we're gonna jump to the story now, and my good parts about this story is the fact that I do think this is the best story Monster Hunter has seen in any of the games. Now, I'm not saying it's an amazing story, and we're going to talk about that later, but in terms of Monster Hunter, I think it's a step up. You know, I think it's a step up. I think there are characters, which I think, number one, the best thing about the story to me is the characters. There are tons of likable characters, or tons of cool, unique, different characters, and I think the voice acting throughout the whole thing is pretty great. But unfortunately, that's really all I have to say about the story. There's really not a lot that stood out to me in terms of story, and again, I have things to say about it later, but we're going to move on to the music. The music was a standout aspect for me. This was something I did not expect to love as much as I did. Whether it's the main menu, whether it's the battle themes, whether it's the idle themes, whether it is the in UIs. There's just music playing at all times, and I just love the music. There are so many moments in cutscenes where you could just tell the music is heightening. There's so many moments where your character is doing something so dope, and the music just sounds so dope, and it just hits. Like, it just hits the way it's supposed to, and I absolutely love that about this game. And I think the music is something that helps that quote-unquote experience that I felt in this game, because throughout my whole time, let me rephrase that. I don't love games that don't feel like an experience. That's why I love video games. It's for experiences that I can't find anywhere else. When you can give me a game that makes me feel like I'm experiencing something, that's how you know I'm going to love the game. And this game did that for me. I just at all times felt like I was having an experience. There are things that take me out of that experience, and we're going to talk about that, but I think that is what this game did better than any other Monster Hunter to date, is it just feels like more better experience, and I love that. But visually, I mean, the visuals are pretty good. Monster Hunter's never been one to have phenomenal visuals, but, I think it's really good. There are a lot of, environments and, like I said, monster designs and armor designs, weapons, all that stuff that just look really, really cool. The modern technology makes it look, shinier, more texture, all that stuff. There's a lot of moments in battles where, these monsters doing cool attacks and effects and stuff like that, like water, fire, all that stuff, where it looks beautiful. I think visuals look really good, especially, when we're talking about looking out into the horizon and seeing the environment. There are times where it looks beautiful. There are times where it doesn't. And I have stuff to say about that later. But for the most part, this is definitely a step up in the visual department for Monster Hunter Wilds. And I think the biggest thing for visuals for me, and again, helps the experience, is the production. The production of this whole product, the production of the whole game has just greatly increased. And when I mean production, I mean cutscenes, I mean transitions, I mean the way the game flows, I mean everything, the way the game is presented to you. The production is so great. Just loading up the main menu, you can see how great the production on this game is. You transition from a coffee cup into your tent. You see your companions, and then you transition outside of your tent, looking out into the view, and boom, that's the main menu. The main menu goes so much harder than it has to, and I think that just goes to show you the level of production this game put out and how phenomenal it is. And then other things that I think are really great about this game is I think the performance ran very smoothly for me. I know there are people who are having issues with that, and some of my friends actually experienced some crashes while I was playing with them, but for the most part, I didn't really run into any issues. There were a couple frame drops here and there, but for the most part, very smooth. I did run performance mode on PS5 Pro, and it was just the way to go. It was just a really great time in terms of performance. Like I said, the main menu is awesome, and I think the character creator was very, very solid. That's something that interests you. If you love games that have character creators, or you specifically look for that, this is definitely a game where you're going to get a really nice character creator. I honestly could have spent a lot longer, and I want to just go and make more characters, because it's a very good character creator. But now we're going to go on to the mix. Now, like I said in all my other reviews, the mix category is things that don't necessarily hurt the game, but it doesn't help it either. You know what I mean? I'm not going to give it points for these things, but I'm not going to lower the score really either because of it. It's kind of just neutral stuff. Things that I wish that can improve on, or things that I would change, but it's not at the end of the world. And talk about the gameplay. There's only one thing here in the mix. Everything else is either good or bad. But there's only one thing in the mix, and that is the controls. The controls are just not simple, first of all, which that's okay. Okay, there's a learning curve, fine. But the problem is the layout and the mapping of the controls make absolutely no sense. Why is X or square, depending on the console you're playing on, why is that to put your weapon away? That doesn't make sense. And then triangle is to attack, circle is to do a special attack, and then X is to dodge. What is going on here? It doesn't make any sense. Right bumper is to sprint. There are just so many questionable button layout mapping decisions that it can definitely hurt someone's experience. Luckily, the only reason it's in mixed here and not bad is that's just how every monster's been. Every Monster Hunter game has been, and I had to go through that with World, and I had to go through that with Rise. And so I kind of knew that was going to be the case. Like, this didn't surprise me. And to Monster Hunter people who play this game for a living, like, this is probably like just another Tuesday to them, right? But for somebody who didn't play a lot of World or Rise and haven't played a Monster Hunter in a while, you know, getting back into that, okay, this is how the controls work, it's just still annoying, and it is kind of that, like, this is just so weird type feeling. But once I got used to it, it just was absolutely fine. I didn't really have any issues with it late in the game. That is why it's in the mixed section. Story-wise, and here's where we start to go down. And this is where my biggest critique about the whole game comes into play, and that is the story. In my mixed section, I have that overall, I think the story was just uninteresting, and it just didn't move me. I just really did not care for the story. And the reason it's in mixed here and not bad is because that's just how Monster Hunter has always been as well. You know, Monster Hunter has never been that franchise to give you a good story. It's never been the franchise to deliver these super emotional characters that you can connect with on multiple levels. There is no really, in this game specifically, there's no real exciting plot line to me. I think the most exciting plot line to me had to do with the kid wanting that one monster to live its life freely. I think that was the most interesting thing, but that was kind of like a come and go type thing, at least from what I understood, unless I missed something. And then the other thing is there's just no emotional beats. And again, this goes back to what I've been saying. I want an experience, and to have a great experience, you need to have a great story. In this game just didn't deliver. But at the same time, that wasn't my that wasn't my expectation going into it. I wasn't expecting a great story. And in a matter of fact, I was kind of like surprised by how decent the story was, you know, for it being okay. But in the grand scheme of things, the story doesn't help the game at all. It doesn't bring the game back at all. It's just there, you know. I mean, there are likable characters, there are some fun moments, but the story is just there to move the gameplay along, right? So that's why it's in the mixed category for me. Visuals, like I said earlier, there are some points where the visuals just don't look good, whether that is, you know, you're super zoomed into character renders or character models, or whether you're like stuck between a wall fighting a monster and then like things like old jaggy or whatnot. There are some loading in issues or popping issues, whatever, but there are just some points where the visuals are like a little weird, or aren't up to like standard of what they look like in certain times, because there are some times where, man, the game just looks absolutely gorgeous, but other times not. And then we go into the bad. These are things that I find really bad about, or not really bad, but just bad about the game. Like, these are things that I would critique. These are things that do drag the score down for me. And I think the biggest thing, and I think this is, unfortunately, I think this will just always be the case with Monster Hunter, but I do think they could still fix it a little bit, and that is just the game tells you nothing. The game absolutely tells you nothing. It doesn't tell you how co-op works. It doesn't tell you how quests properly operate. It doesn't tell you like how to do certain things like raise your maximum HP or raise your maximum stamina. It just tells you, hey, this is how you use a consumable. Okay, so what consumable do I use to do this or that or that or this or this? It doesn't tell you that. It just tells you, hey, this is how you use a consumable. We're not going to tell you what or how to do it, right? It doesn't tell you. It tells you, hey, you can customize these things. Okay, where do I go to customize that, or how do I do it? And instead, it gives you 8 different tabs of menus and options to try and find where to do that thing. And it's so confusing, and the game tells you nothing. It tells you too much, honestly, at times, and not enough at the same time. There are times where it's like, okay, stop telling me these things. I know how to do this. But then there are times like, bro, you did not tell me how to do this. Like, I didn't figure out how co-op properly works until about like 15 hours into the game. I'm like, oh, that's what we're supposed to be doing the whole time. That is very, very unfortunate. And then there are certain aspects of gameplay that are very confusing as well. Whether it is like I said, all the different stats and like having to raise certain things, or whether it's the UI, like certain weapons have these certain like traits to them, like you can charge up something, or you have to raise a meter on a blade and then switch. Like, there's certain things that are just very confusing. And again, this is just goes to like a learning curve, or a just you have to get used to type thing, but it can hurt the experience at times for me. And then again, the quests are just super confusing. Like, there are times you can go explore the open world, but then there are times you can't, and it doesn't really tell you why or how. It just says, hey, you can't go there. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know why. And then you go talk to somebody, and then you can't. But it's like, what changed? Like, it just does a really bad job of explaining how certain things operate. But in terms of like actual critique about the gameplay itself, for me, it's just the UI is very cluttered, and that's just how Monster Hunter is going to be. It's a JRPG. That's just how it's going to be. But also, one of my biggest issues, and this is probably my biggest issue, certain inputs are just feel super delayed. In the sense, like consumables. Like, I swear, I click use a heal, and it just doesn't work. I'm like, okay. I click use a heal again. It just doesn't work. And then I click it a third time, and it finally works. I'm like, what is going on? Like, certain button inputs, I just feel like don't register. I don't know if that's a bug or a glitch or something that they just have to fix, or if that's just how the game is designed, but it annoyed me sometimes. I'm like, use your heal. What is going on here? I was just super duper annoyed at times. And I think that's honestly probably one of the biggest critiques about the game entirely, is that there are just so many times where the gameplay or things can just feel annoying. But at the same time, you get over it because the game is so fun and it's so great at the same time. So, but then the other thing that I think I would say bad about this game is the story, and not even the story, just the way the game flows in the game, the way the game is structured. There is repetitiveness. Oh my gosh. To this game, whether it is, going back to camp, going to hunt a monster, going back to camp, going to hunt a monster, going back to camp, going to hunt a monster. There can be repetitiveness. Definitely late game, I started feeling it more. I'm like, okay, I don't really feel like I'm doing much else here other than just going back and forth, going back and forth, going back and forth. I do wish there were, like, just Monster Hunter, there was just something else to go do. Like, I feel like, honestly, exploration in this game was kind of taken back a little bit from the other games. Like, I don't feel like there was as many collectibles or cool new places to go find as in the other ones. I feel like this one was definitely more catered towards the, like, just go fight type aspect, which personally I enjoy, but I do think that is why I feel this way about the repetitiveness. But then also in the story, something I did not like, there are multiple moments where it does that The Last of Us type thing where you kind of just walk and talk with somebody. You're can't sprint. You can't really control to turn left or right. You're kind of just like in this guided walk, just talking with somebody. And it's just like, this is so unengaging. This is so unengaging. Like, I just want to go fight. Like, I just want to go do my thing, but I'm stuck in this walk and talk scene. It's not even a cutscene. It's like you're in gameplay, but you're really not. I just don't really like when games do that entirely. I don't like it when any game does that, not even The Last of Us. So that's just a critique for me. But overall, man, look, Monster Hunter Wilds, Capcom, Capcom is literally my GOAT. All right, Capcom, I love Capcom so much. They're easily my favorite third-party publisher in the game right now. Might even just be my favorite publisher in the game right now. And they've just been delivering banger after banger for so many years now. They really haven't missed, like, almost at all. And they just have such a bright future. And once again, Monster Hunter Wilds, they just absolutely delivered. I will be giving this game a 9 out of 10, A tier. Which means this game is amazing, and I genuinely do think this game is amazing. I mean, with Monster Hunter now being Capcom's biggest franchise to date, they somehow managed to release the best game in the series yet. Wilds takes what World put in place and makes it bigger and better in about every way possible. With better production and modern technology, Wilds is a wonderful experience. Even if the series formula of still being confusing and having a mediocre story still exists, look, at the end of the day, I had an absolute blast playing this game. I can't wait to play more of it. I want to replay it. Like, this made me fall in love with the franchise in a way. Not fall in love, but it made me love and appreciate the franchise more than I did. And this just once again solidified that love the games Capcom produces, and I probably will always will. And yeah, this game is just an absolute banger, absolutely amazing. Loved every minute with it. But thank you also for watching. If you enjoyed, definitely leave a like in the comment section down provided. What did you think of Monster Hunter Wilds? And I would love to talk with you. But appreciate all your support, and I'll see you in the next one. Johnny, we're out.